Hello, and welcome to Smart Cookies, the podcast of Be Smart Cookie, which helps families raise children to be screen smart and safe. In each of these episodes, I'll be talking to one guest and asking them, what is their smart? What is it that motivates them, gets them up in the morning? What's their one top tip in life? It could be connected to work, hobbies, family, or a passion they have. It's up to them. Once we know and understand they're smart, we'll see what we can take from it and apply it to how we raise our kids to be screen smart and safe. You'll see. I'm Janette Ballard, journalist, mum of triplets, and founder of Be Smart Cookie, which offers resources to families and schools to help children and teenagers stay healthy and safe online. For this podcast, I'm delighted to welcome Marie Helly. Marie is a qualified City of Westminster tour guide. She's also a journalist, strategist, trainer, media literacy expert, and a former senior editor at the BBC. So I am curious to see where this conversation takes us. Let's dig down into the journalism first and the factual information. How do you use factual information but nonetheless craft a story?
So let's say I want to do some research. I'll choose something really easy that people think they know a lot about, Henry VIII, say, and I'm going to talk about him at the National Portrait Gallery. So where do I start? You start with things you know. Here's what are the things I know or I think I know about this person. And then, I'll just do a really simple search, Henry VIII. And up first, of course, comes Wikipedia, which, you absolutely can't be used as a first source, but it's helpful. You can kind of take a timeline from it. And of course, actually, I say it's the first thing that comes up. No, the first thing that now comes up is AI's version of Henry VIII. And unless you know a bit about it, you don't know really whether it's telling you something truthful or not truthful or a bit of both. And as soon as you know something about anything, you can spot that there's some, pretty much every search request that gives you an AI top line, there will always be something dodgy in the middle of that. So that's what I'll do. I'll start and I'll look at AI, but also it throws up some interesting things. And so then you just open another tab and you explore what else comes up around that. And you go into the links and see, there's more information. And so you kind of keep cross-referencing, new page, new tab, so your story grows.
But whose truth are you telling? Henry VIII being, of course, a great example. His version of events would be very different from the version of events we get at the musical Six, for example, where all the wives say, this was a nightmare. He was a pain. It was horrible.
Well, I think in a way, what you have to do is be honest about who your narrator is. So, for example, if I'm doing a tour and I'm at the National Portrait Gallery, well, the first narrator is Hans Holbein, the artist. This is his version of Henry VIII, and in fact, his version is the first version, the first written history of the Tudors. In a way, he painted all the Tudors, and he was at the heart of that court. So, how did Holbein see Henry VIII? And then you have to think about, well, he was there, but he's also, Henry VIII tyrant, Holbein artist. He's flattering him. Obviously, he has to flatter the king. What else do we know about Henry VIII? So the portrait I am talking about at the moment, it's a huge life-size picture. Henry VIII is wide, staring down, full of awe. This is a man who's projecting power. Holbein has him projecting power. But then you can cross-reference, who was he at this time? At this time, we know he was morbidly obese. We know that he'd already been in a jousting accident, so he had terrible scarring and painful legs, and yet the portrait shows beautiful, well-formed calves. So he's being portrayed as the prince he wants to be, the prince who he wants his population to see and admire. So you have the picture, but then you have this other information. and you put it together. So you're telling, well, this is how Holbein saw him. Holbein would have been concerned. It's the king. And we know these events happened at the same time. And you
Yeah.
put it together, you construct this picture, and you tell the most important thing, you tell the people you are talking to where you're getting it from, because history is unreliable, witnesses are unreliable,
Mm.
everyone is partial. Even if they're telling you the truth, they're only
Mm.
telling you a bit of the truth. I am going to select the
Yeah.
facts I share. It will be a partial picture. You
Yeah.
know,
So it's
I
about
would,
the transparency of it then.
yes, here is what I am going to tell you about Henry. It's not the full story, but it's the bit I'm telling you is true. And here is my, my sources. For example, um, this portrait of Henry VIII has a very large codpiece. This is the cover of a man's genitals.
Nice.
It's huge. And so what I would say to that is look to that. This is a proof that Holbein is flattering Henry VIII here.
Right.
Um, most men did flatter themselves using
Right.
this particular piece of this garment. But we know from Anne Boleyn, his second wife, he wasn't great in bed at this time. He's too big and fat. So then you can
Yeah.
make it a creative story,
Yeah.
but fun.
So my thing is that, in people's daily lives, when they're given facts and information, I say facts, but maybe they aren't facts, or maybe they don't know where they come from. And there's that balance, isn't there, as to how much time does anybody really have to do the kind of research that you are suggesting?
It's so quick. So
Mm.
there's some brilliant work that's been done in Berkeley, and some of the best people who are kind of working in the same area of kind of looking for disinformation are historians. So some of the teachers and professors are teaching their students how to fact check, and literally, it's the tool I would say to everybody is if you're looking at something on a page, say on a website, you open, look at the links they have and just
Mm.
open another page. If you just keep opening other pages,
Mm.
you will see another version, and you will see really quickly if there's lots of other stuff out there about this thing, likely to be a lot of truth to it. It's
Mm.
likely to be something that exists. If you can't find anything when you go onto another page and start checking the
Yes.
words or the link or the title, and it's either not there or you see something very different, it takes seconds. You can click, click, click. You can have 5 pages open in an instant, really, and you can just see if there's different versions of what appeared to be a great true story. And this is particularly true on social media. So if you think you've got something, but it's nowhere else, or no one reputable is saying it, you have to ask why.
Mm.
Why? It should give you doubt. Not saying it didn't happen, it's not true, but some doubt, some skepticism that would make you think, hmm, maybe I need to investigate further. Ask questions, just the normal
Mm.
questions you would ask about anything. You know,
So I'm going to try and push you on your smart then, Marie. So I've heard truth. I've heard impartiality and partiality. I've heard transparency. I've heard critical thinking, and I've heard, which is part of it, heard ask questions. What's your key motivating factor in getting the work right that you do as a journalist?
asking questions, 100%. And that is because any you don't need any particular technical expertise to ask questions. Just because it's on a computer or on
Mm.
social media, all you would do, you just do what you do if your husband came in and said, something very unlikely.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Who told you that? Who actually told you that?
Yeah.
Did it happen to your friend, or was it your friend's uncle's niece? And,
Yes.
and that's how apocryphal tales spread in real life, isn't it? We all know a friend of a friend. And it's the same in the online world. You ask the same questions. And yes, it's a click, but that's all it is. It's only a click. Anyone can paste and click,
Mm.
paste and search. You're asking why or where or
Mm.
who. And that's all you're doing. And it's really simple. There's no technical expertise required. And that's good because I'm not a digital native. I mean, I can press Google searches. And I tell that when I train journalists, and they want to do all the fancy stuff. They want to use all these fancy new tools to forensically investigate. I was like, well, no, hang on, let's start with just a Google search, shall we? And that will get rid of 90% of the crap straight away.
Marie, thank you so much for sharing your smart with us today.
Thank you.
So Marie gave us lots of ideas there of things we can do when we think about raising children in the digital world. She was really clear that her key smart was to ask questions. And there's no need to be overly challenging with those questions, or cynical with those questions, or aggressive, or inquisitorial with those, or judgmental with those questions. You know, we all remember when our kids were little and they asked so many questions. Why, mummy, this? Why that? Why that? Can I? What if? And it would be exhausting, actually. But questions tend to get knocked out of kids as they grow older. It becomes uncool to think that you don't know something. Our education system doesn't encourage asking questions, particularly. We teach kids maybe how to find answers, and we teach kids the answers, but we don't really teach them how to ask questions, or which questions might be the pertinent questions to ask in any given situation. And that is something that we can bring into our digital lives. If we asked our children to ask more questions, if we kept that going, despite the headache that it can sometimes become, that could be really helpful. We can encourage children to ask questions without fear or shame. And I think we ourselves as parents and carers could model some of that. So it might be not, oh, look, the lake has frozen over, but the lake has frozen over. I wonder why that is. What has happened? What is the weather? What is making that lake freeze over, and how does it happen? And part of that is to say we won't have the answers to all these questions, but it's maybe worth asking. What a great smart cookie Marie was today. I really enjoyed that, and I hope you did too. And I look forward to you listening in next time.